In May 2019, over 100 artisans demonstrated rare and traditional trades at 4 iconic heritage venues. I was fortunate to have a look at most of these. So we've got a lot of great activities going on the Heritage Trail. Can you tell us what you're doing here?
Oh, just a bit of traditional ploughing with a single mobile plough with 2 horses, and yeah, to show people just the old farming methods, and yeah, that's about it really.
That's excellent, and this is part of the old research station, is it?
It is.
Where that's going on?
Yeah, so there would have been plenty of ploughing done here over the years. Yeah, good fun that stuff,
How are you? You're what we call a coach builder?
Coach builder and a wheelwright.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
I'm building a little Sarvan wheel here.
Right.
This is a Sarvan wheel with hickory spokes. It's got a metal flange under here.
Oh, I see.
I put all the spokes in without the metal flange on top of it so I can see exactly what's happening.
Right.
And then when I get them all happy and that, I put the metal flange on the top.
And then finally you put a metal wheel or heat that and put that around the
tyre.
Tyre, is it called?
The timber section that's the rim.
Yes.
And the iron, what most people call the iron rim, is actually the iron tyre.
I see.
It's called a tyre because it tyres the wheel all together.
Oh, right,
all very old, medieval. I think they call them a battery drill.
Right.
I think Noah had one when he built the ark, I'm told. So this is, I apologise because I was very limited to what I could bring.
Oh, well, that's
right. Because we didn't have the use of our truck.
Yes.
This is a bell tool or a pointer.
Right.
And it's just a big pencil sharpener. This will actually...
I see.
So this point puts a point on the end of the spoke.
Yes.
So we've got to make sure that that's small or smaller than the dowel we intend to cut.
Right. What you're doing there. Hi guys, great day.
G'day.
And could you tell me what you're doing here?
Well, I'm just using a draw knife to bring this piece of rectangular wood down to a bit of round wood. It started out like that.
Oh, right, I see.
And we're going to making it round so we can put it as a leg for a little bench.
Right.
Yes.
So quite a lot of work goes into it.
Well, it will be. It's all done by hand.
Yes.
So that's going to be the nice thing about it.
Yeah.
Making it all using hand tools.
Right. So the group is the Woodcraft group.
Central Tablelands Woodcraft.
Right.
Tablelands Woodcraft. Over at Kelso.
Yes.
And just in Dorman Place, just off Gilmore.
Council is one of our sponsors.
Oh, well that is good. And I've seen you around at the various other shows, which is
probably
good to display the work. So we're now looking at the final products of the work done by the wood turners or woodcraft group, and we have we have 2 people here with the display. Could you tell me what's been going on today?
Been a few people coming through. Right,
having a look at the finished products. Yes, that's, and
commented on how good it was.
Yes, and the woodcraft itself is very skillful, isn't it?
It is very skillful
and time consuming. It would take you quite a while to get some of these pieces done. For example, these trays, how are they done? They're glued together, are they? Different timbers?
Yeah.
No doubt you also do children's toys?
Yeah.
Yes. Hello there. You've got an interesting display. Could you tell me what it's about?
Stock whips.
Right.
Yes, it's about Australian stock whips. Cowhide, kangaroo hide,
Right.
all kinds of Australian native timbers from the north of Queensland down to Tasmania.
Right.
There's lots of variety and lots of good fun in cracking.
Right.
Cracking good fun.
Yes. Yes, and could you just explain a little bit about the whip details or the making of the whip very briefly?
This item is actually called a stock whip because
Right.
it has a stop. This
I see.
that you might refer to as the handle is
Yes.
actually called a stock.
Right.
So it's a stock whip, not because it's used for chasing stock,
I
but
see.
because it has a stop.
Ah, that's that's most interesting.
This particular whip is a 4-flat cowhide whip with a kangaroo handle.
Right.
There's the kangaroo.
Very attractive, yes. So to make a whip like that, approximately how long would you be doing it for?
It takes me about 22 hours.
That's very good going, yes. Yes. You'd have an interest too in the arts and crafts?
Oh, well, I help him run his business, actually.
Right, excellent. And
I take the money and...
Alright, and from our Tassie Cutback, you can go into one called the Queensland Crossover. Okay, so developed in Queensland. It's not actually narrowed down as to where in Queensland, it was just up in Queensland, this is their version. Alright, and we're going to crack both whips over our head. We're going to crack them twice as well. Alright, it looks like this. It goes over and down, so over, back and down. And of course we can do it in both hands. For it, we can stagger it and do a trick called changing lanes, where we can bring it down on both on the same side as well. Alrighty, so if you think about it, the bullock teams, they can be up to 8, 10 bullocks in a row tied up. Alright, and if you think about trying to move an animal that's over a tonne, it's tied to another animal that's over a tonne, attached to another 8 animals over a tonne, very hard to move them. It's very hard to train them. Think about training the bullock team a bit like training your cat. Alright, anyone can train a dog. Try and train your cat. Alright, takes a little bit more work, a little bit more communication. So bullock teams, they'll have a handle, roughly about 5 foot, okay, the length of my first set of whips. And this handle is just basically an extension to my arm. Wherever I want to place my stick, my handle, I can move it around so that I can communicate. Alright. The plait or the thong of the whip is twice as long. It's 8 foot, over 8 foot this one. Alright. And that enables me to communicate down the back. Oh, you're scared. And communicate up to the bullock at the front. Okay, so I can actually communicate quite a long distance with all the bullocks. But of course, if you look at when you throw it through the air, it goes a fair way up. Now, if you're out pulling logs out of the bush, out of the scrub, and you try and crack your bullock whip like a cattleman, it goes a fair way up, and it'll get tangled in all the trees. So most bullock team drivers can't crack them. I know a bullock team driver every year at the Camden show, he comes up to me, hands over his whip and goes, yeah, give it its yearly crack. Because he never cracks it all year. All right, I go out there and go, yeah! There you go, mate, have it back. See you again next year. All right? And that is purely because it's all about body position and extending your arm with your bullock whip. But of course, you still need to be a little bit forceful with your bullocks. So we do one we call a front flick, okay? And that's usually a get up, okay? So you can flick it, and then it cracks out in front. Now, if you do have the overhead space, you can crack it over his head as well. All right.
Thank you.
I'll ask you a few questions about this wonderful restoration. Could you tell me about it?
Well, it was bought, as far as we know, it was bought by Alexander Wilson from Lime Kilns. And when he finished with it, it was given to Alma Healy at Wattle Flat. And she was the first lady in Bathurst to get a driver's licence. They kept it till 1927, and then they put it out on the back of the property, and Millie Tobin from Mount Horrible got the car, took it out to Mount Horrible, and they demolished it to use it in the shearing shed, trailers, super spreaders. The lights we found them inside the house, so one was in the bathroom and one was inside the house as a fruit bowl or whatever. The side lights were on either side of the main front door of the house.
Right.
The back section of this had been made into a lounge. Hello. Made into a lounge, and that was sitting on the front veranda. The windscreen was part of the barn or the workshop. Front axle was under a box trailer. So it's really a discovery tour you've got to do to find. And then you've got to make certain parts yourself too, have you? Yeah, well, the differential in it, we couldn't buy the spare parts because it was very early parts, so we had to hand make them. And it's a sort of a one-off.
To be able to do that is fantastic.
Well, if I'd had units after anyone that was made after unit 41,000, you can buy all the spare parts you want.
Can you?
But this is unit about 21,000, so it was all handmade. Right. And we had to make the parts to put the rear axle together.
Yes.
And it took me about 20 years to build it in between drag racing and road racing.
Oh, wonderful. And it is drivable, that is, you can go in this.
It'll start now with no trouble.
Yes, yes. Oh, such wonderful work.
The only problem I have with it these days is that I've hurt my back.
Right.
And I can't really crank it anymore. So we fitted a starter motor on it to try and save my back a bit.
Yes. And is this also your other vehicles? Or
that's a 1927 Chrysler. It belongs to Graham Clark.
Right, right.
We have this and we have stagecoaches. So.
Oh, do you? Yes, so really, really into it. No.
I like the history of the goldfields, the Bathurst history, and this is a Bathurst car. Bought brand new here in 1913 and is still here.
Yes. We filmed, you might remember, the 100 Years of Ford that was based in Bathurst, where they came from all over. We made the film on that. It turned out quite well.
Yeah, this was part of the American 100 Years.
Right.
They used photos of this and a bit of that in the American 100 Years of Ford.
So would you have had that vehicle reconstructed, say, 10 years ago? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This was on the road in 1983.
Right. Ah.
It was used in some of the major tours.
Right, wonderful.
We've driven it to around southern Queensland, around Tasmania. I've driven it to Ayers Rock, Docker River in Western Australia.
Yes.
There's been a lot of other major tours.
Yes. Certainly a member of the family of the and labour of love, but to see how well you've done.
Well, we got the Overlander badge, which is that one there.
Yeah.
And to get that, you only had to drive 600k into Alice Springs. And they said, "How far have you driven?" I said, "We just drove 5,000 kilometres to get here." And they gave us the badge straight away. Didn't even argue.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for talking to me about it. John, we meet again. This is another wonderful, what do we call it, bicycle or tricycle? Very good. Tell us about it, John.
This is the Dublin tricycle, patented in 1867 by Dr. John Blood. The unusual feature about this is it's the first vehicle to have the principle of Ackerman angle applied to the steering.
Right.
Now, Ackerman angle is on the steering of every car, bus, truck on the road.
Right.
But this is the first vehicle in the world to have it, which actually makes it the penultimate beginning of automotive history.
Wonderful. John, could you just point out some of the components or the steering in particular?
With the steering, it just operates on one hand.
The
brake operates on the other hand.
Right.
The pedals treadle up and down instead of round around like a normal
yes, I was trying to work out how I saw it going by.
The mechanics of this particular bicycle relate very much to steam engines.
Do they?
All bronze bushes with oilers, and it just works in the same principle because that was the technology that was there at the time.
Yes.
Automotive they hadn't invented the internal combustion engine at this stage. The only technology that was around was steam engine.
Yes, you construct these yourself, do you, from the originals, which again is greater. I've never heard of anyone doing that before.
On this one there is nothing that I've bought.
Right.
Made the whole lot.
Yes.
The spokes we hand forge. Actually, I'm a liar. The spoke nipples are bought.
Right.
And nuts and bolts.
Oh, yes, yes. So how long would you say spend it? It vary on circumstance, but
it took me about 2.5 months to build this one.
Oh, well, that's very good going. I thought it probably
it's probably a record because the two other tricycles, they were more like 3.5 months.
Yes. Well, thank you, John. Nice meeting you, and you'll form part of the Bathurst Remembers collection. Joanne, I've been admiring all the coaches and the coach work. Can you tell me about them?
Okay, so this vehicle is 1910 vehicle.
Right.
It's a ladies drop shaft phaeton. If you see the line of the shafts, it drops down as you get into the carriage.
I see.
It doesn't go straight through, so it's not a normal sulky. It's built for a lady to get into. Was restored in the 1988 in the bicentenary.
Right.
And the line, it was restored by a bloke called Max Mitchell.
Right.
And he did the line work on it.
So detailed and well restored. It's something to be really proud of.
In 88, yeah.
Tell me about this vehicle.
So this is a governor's cart. Originated around the 1890. It was restored in 2004 by a man called Neil Wilson, who's a cart rider. This was solely for the governors to take kids and look after the kids and do the local jobs.
And it's not only the whole construction, but the finishing of the construction, the upholstery.
Yes.
It's so well done.
Well done. So beautiful cedar, red cedar.
Yes, isn't it glorious?
Beautiful smell when you take the covers off. You know?
And so you've been exhibiting these coaches quite a bit?
We do. We show at Sydney Royal with these
wonderful.
coaches. We have a team of 6 horses that we take down. And each horse has their own vehicles.
Oh, wonderful. A lot of work, but I imagine the feedback makes it most worthwhile, and people would, some would want to add to their collections themselves.
My oath, yes.
Yeah. And you've done great by putting it on display today. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll ask you a couple of questions while you're at it. How long does it take to heat up, say, a horseshoe or metal in that type of fire before you can work it?
Depends on how big the steel is,
Yeah.
obviously, but normally that's about 5 minutes or something,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Ah, there it is.
Piece of 5mm, like 25.
Right. And could you tell me what he's doing at present?
That's actually an old file, English made, but it had been nickel prior to this, so it's been softened.
Yes. Could you tell me about these works?
These?
Yes.
These are various cast objects, some in stainless steel, some in bronze, made by a very famous sculptor from Germany. He does these gum nuts and eucalyptus, Australian native plant. These are mine. These are Celtic jewellery.
Right.
These are to wear on the wrist. This is for the neck, and they're called torques.
Ah, right.
And they originally were to show fealty to the Viking lord.
Right.
And you wore those. These are similar bits of Celtic jewellery made by a genuine Celt.
Right. Wonderful.
If he speaks, you'll hear his Scottish accent.
Right.
And we've been doing this for a few years now. It's our third year here at the Heritage Trail, which is just a wonderful thing. And there's more and more trades coming.
Isn't that great?
Each year.
Congratulations. It's wonderful. Wonderful to see them being preserved and enthusing the younger people too to appreciate.
Yes, indeed. Especially in here,
Yes.
which is the original blacksmith shop.
Oh, right. Right, yeah.
And all of this is blacksmith made agricultural equipment. Some of it well over 100 years old. They're all well over 100 years old. They've just been catalogued for local history project.
Right.
So they won't get lost and everybody can appreciate it.
Yeah. Tom, such intricate work here. Is that your work?
Yes, Brian. I made all this stuff. It's all handmade gear.
Right.
Make it all at my place out at Newbridge.
Newbridge, right. You would have been at this sort of work for quite a while?
Nearly 8 years now, which is probably not quite a while, but it's I love it and happy to keep doing it.
Oh, it's great work. Could you, for example, pick a piece up and just tell me a bit about what's involved?
Certainly. Well, actually, Brian, I'll pick up a piece like this. This is going to be a dragon, and it's only, unlike a lot of the other very shiny stuff that is finished here, this is in the process of being made, so this is kind of what it looks like halfway through.
Right.
This particular part here remains the only part left of what was the parent stock.
Yes.
The rest are going on. Jump up bits, hammer down bits, make all draw bits out. Yeah. So you all get different shapes.
This piece here interests me. Could you tell me about it?
Well, Brian, this is a simple piece. It can't be made in the forge because you can't have heat everywhere. You have to have isolated heat. So I have to make all the bends here are made with the oxyacetylene setup. Now, you just have to heat, bend and twist at the same time to get them to come around. And you have to keep them nice and uniform as you go.
Yes, well, that would be they're so exact.
Yes.
So I suppose like anything, but with a lot of effort and skill, you become better and better at doing the work.
Yes, more and more practice.
Yes.
Like anything, as you say, the more practice, the better. The end bits are done in the forge.
Yes.
They're just hammered around.
Yes. Oh, it's such great work you're doing. You must be in demand now too with the appreciation of history and antique or heritage works and features.
I have been asked to help with some restoration work on a number of buildings
Yes.
and have done so.
Lovely work. I'm so glad you were there to tell me about it. Hi. You're about to embark on a modern journey using the coach. Have you been on one of these before?
No.
Oh, they're very challenging to film from. I noted the one we did on a Burke reenactment and filming it from up on top and the wheels going. Very good. Jeff, we've just experienced the wonderful music that you both play, and I appreciated that at both Safala and other places. But you also are involved in making the instruments, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. I've made these ones here, the dulcimer and the ukuleles.
Oh, wonderful.
But mostly I run courses in cigar box guitar making.
Right.
So that's a 3-day course making an instrument. This one's a Chrysler hubcap.
Out of a hubcap.
And it's got another hubcap on the back.
Yes, isn't that fascinating?
This one's a Bollinger champagne box.
Right.
So you can still get in the box.
Yes.
It's got a little pickup in it.
Yes. Oh, I didn't realise.
Arnott's cake tin, yeah.
Isn't that great? And such a nice resonant sound from unique, isn't it, from the different size.
So we basically just put a neck on a box of some sort. This one here is a wine box. This one's a Penfold wine box one. Put a neck on them and put some strings on it.
And you
make a guitar out.
Yes.
Traditionally, they were always done with cigar boxes.
Were they?
Not a lot of cigar boxes.
Yes,
and we sometimes make a box or just look for a suitable box that is going to be a good job.
Oh,
This one's a old cognac Hennessy box on this one.
Oh, they're unique as collector's items. Should be very much in demand and being able to play the instruments and the sound you obtain.
On the lookout for them,
Yes, oh, that is wonderful, Jeff. So keep up the good work. This is an interesting device you're wood turning on. Very good. So it's foot driven. Very clever innovation. And is it your invention or does it date back from heritage days, I suppose?
Earliest known images of this 2,000 years ago.
Right.
In an Egyptian tomb.
Right.
The next time we see it is an illustration of a monk in Chartres in France in the 12th century.
Yes.
Using it to make rosary beads.
Ah, isn't that fascinating?
In those times, we don't know what happened.
Yes. Oh, so wonderful to see you recreating the craft. And this is part of your work too, these chairs and tables?
Yes. Do you do carving as well? Or? No?
Just make chairs.
Chairs.
Yeah, in the motor, which I need to put a back panel in at the bottom where it was carved. You don't need to do that, do you? Across the rail at the back on the bottom, there's a piece missing.
Do you still have wooden seat?
Oh yeah, it's a big old Victoria.
David, you've got the leather work here. Could you tell me what you're doing?
Well, I'm about to stitch a buckle on this cheek piece for a bridle. So
right.
That'll go down the side of the horse's head. That part goes over the top of the head. and then there'll be a forward band goes around here. So I just hung iron, and it's going to mark the stitches for me.
Do you let the work? Do you do shoes and that too, or you concentrate on
I only do
belts?
saddlery.
Saddlery. Well, that's enough, isn't it? There's so many components. And how long have you been in this trade? Most of your life?
42 years.
Have you? Wow.
Keep doing it till I get it right.
Yes. Yes, well, that is indeed great. So, just going on to saddles, I'm coming back a little bit. Are they, they're all different sizes, no doubt, are they?
Yep, they're made to fit the horse and made to fit the rider.
Right. And do you do the delicate embroidery type patterns too on them?
The carving, yeah.
Yes.
And I design the pattern as well.
How long would it take you, say, just roughly, to make a saddle for someone who wants to do show horse riding with a good saddle? How long would that take you?
Well, a basic saddle is about 40 hours.
Right.
And one like that, fully carved one there with the silver on it, would be looking at about 160 hours.
Yes. Yes, that's all.
And I design the patterns myself too.
Do you? Right. So you'd have a lot of clients, no doubt. Horse riding and displays and competitions has really caught on still.
Well, I have enough to keep me going. I've got a few years' work in front of me. But I enjoy coming to these things. And
no, it's good of you doing that. It spreads the word.
I like the attention.
Yes. Oh, well, that's great. No, you're to be congratulated on such wonderful craftsmanship.
So this is hand stitching. So I'm doing what's called a saddler's stitch here, where we use 2 needles. Thread from the bottom comes right the way through to the top, and one from the top goes through to the bottom.
Right.
Which is different to what a sewing machine does. It doesn't. Anyway, the sewing machine, the thread on the bottom stays on the bottom, and the one on the top stays on the top.
Right. Ah.
The advantage of hand stitching, well, one is that you can, if one stitch gets broken through abrasion or
the other still will.
It won't automatically start running.
Right. Now, Margie, could you tell me about the work you do?
Okay, I'm one of 2 artisan cinch makers in Australia.
Right.
And I work exclusively in pure mohair.
Right.
And I make cinches and girths for all styles of saddles, so English, Western, Australian stock saddles.
Right.
I custom dye, so we have over 62 colours on our books.
Isn't that good?
So we can make any colour, pattern, design that you wish. And any length. We go from 16 inch up to, the largest I've made so far is 54 inch.
Right. So this is an integral part of a saddle, is it? Going under the girth?
This holds the saddle on the horse.
On the horse, yes.
Okay, mohair's the best fibre because it breathes.
Right.
It pulls moisture away from the skin so
Right.
the horse doesn't rub as much. They stay soft.
Yes.
I'm sure you had a bit of a feel and felt how soft they are.
Yes.
It's very, very durable. It's easy to clean. And it's very hard wearing.
Yes.
So you can have some artistry as well as
Wonderful.
practical artistry.
And it's great you're putting these displays on. Do you think the displays are worthwhile?
The displays are fantastic.
Yes.
It's great to see so many different artisans and to be able to network with a couple of the blacksmiths so I can get some particular artisan buckles that I want. Working in with the saddle maker.
Yes.
So
whilst you're not involved with this bit, but I just say that's the saddle opened up, is it, to show
This is a traditional Australian stock saddle that's been opened up.
Right.
These are the trees that go in the
Oh,
traditional
right.
Australian stock saddle.
So that's what's in there. I never knew that. Yeah.
So this is the timber frame. which is wrapped in cheesecloth and resin.
Right.
And this saddle's is in for repair.
Right.
Dave is
We'll
doing.
work on that, yes.
But this shows you where the tree sits within the saddle.
Yes.
And then that is covered, that's where all the leather and the girth points hang from.
Right.
So this has a layer of leather here, and then a layer of serge on an Australian traditional stock saddle, which is then stuffed with horsehair.
Ah, it's fascinating. So much work involved, isn't there? You don't appreciate it till you see what is involved.
That's one of the reasons this is so valuable.
Oh, for sure. Not only for us older people, but also for the young people to appreciate the trades and how much skill.
Effort goes into
and that if you put your life or time, as we all do, or many of us do, into a trade, you get it back, don't you, in satisfaction. Graham, Hanger, Mayor of Bathurst, you're up having a look at the Heritage Trail.
Heritage Trades Trail. Yeah, what a wonderful, wonderful weekend we've had here. Well, so far today. I mean, we've got another day tomorrow.
Yes.
But up here at the Bathurst Experimental Farm, the Ag Research Station as it's known, literally hundreds and hundreds of people here today. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful setup. There's every trade that you could possibly imagine. The hard trades are up here, and we're really excited about it. I mean, I see Sandy Bathgate walking around, he can hardly stand up. He's worked so hard to put all of this together. But stonemasons, wood, leather, metal, you name it, it's all up here. And it's just a wonderful event for the town. We're really, really proud of it, and well done to all the volunteers who put it together. So many volunteers here today, so many tents set up, and we get another day like this tomorrow. My goodness me, we'll have hundreds, probably thousands up here again. Same down the town at the three venues in the city, at the Walshaw Hall, at the Methodist Hall, and at the CWA Hall, the soft trades down there.
Yes.
People should make sure that
have
they
a look
get
tomorrow.
down. Yep, get down there and have a look at them.
Yes, no, it's really happening. So many events, you know, you look at Safala, Hill End, Millthorpe markets, it's all go.
It's all systems go, yes. And of course today as well we had at the Bathurst Showground the book fair.
Oh, that's
for
right.
the Lifeline.
Lifeline, that's
today
right.
we had the Lifeline book fair.
Yes.
And that was a wonderful event. There were queues of people going in there to over 30, what did I hear, 25 to 35,000 books. So there was something for everybody here in town in Bathurst today.
Thank you, Graham. Hey guys, you've been very busy today manning the welcoming or the coming in booth.
Yes.
Has it been a good day?
It's been a fantastic day. We've had lots and lots of people through. The surprising thing, perhaps not so, is that there was a lot of people who bought their tickets online.
Oh,
they were a little bit cheaper
yes.
online. But there were certainly more online tickets and electronic tickets than there were people paying cash.
Right.
But I reckon at least 1,000 people went through today. It's been fantastic.
Yes. Helen, how did you find the day?
I've only been here this afternoon, but I enjoyed it, and I'm here as a member of Bathurst Lions Club.
Oh, excellent. Yes, they do a great job, and it's just been amazing how many different trades have been
yes,
there today.
It's been magnificent. I haven't had a good chance to have a look round.
Yes.
But I've been on the gate this afternoon, and that was busy
yes.
the first couple of hours, but slackened off now because it's 4 o'clock.
Yeah, it's closing time.
Yes, it's closing time, yes. And would all of you feel that such events as these days are good for the city?
Oh, fantastic for Bathurst.
Yes.
Heritage is something that we really need to promote more of in Bathurst. We promote the Mount,
right.
which is great.
Yes.
But Bathurst is the oldest inland city in Australia.
Yes.
And we need to promote our heritage and our heritage trades. Yeah. And I think events like this allow us to do that.
Yes.
Yep. And full credit to Sandy Bathgate and his team
right.
for putting it all together.
Right. Well, credit to everyone, and I've really enjoyed the day. You find out, even though you're an oldie like me, there's so much you don't know about the trades.
Well, welcome to the club.
Yes. Yeah. We're at Walshaw Hall. It's the day after the election, in which, incidentally, the Liberals won, and Andrew G became still the sitting member for Clare. We're going in to see the exhibit as part of the Heritage Artefacts and Arts display. Vendor, I've just come into the Walshaw Hall. You've been getting a good crowd?
We have. Yesterday it was extremely busy.
Oh, well, that's excellent. I'm looking forward to it. It's a great project, isn't it, to have heritage and that going.
Yeah.
So have a good day. I'm sure I will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lorraine is doing some beautiful work here.
Thank
what
you.
Can you tell me about it?
Yes, well this part here is copper foiling. This one over here is the traditional lead light.
Right.
They're related, you can intermingle them, use copper foiling in your lead lighting,
right,
or use copper foiling as these pieces over here are, as individuals.
Right.
They're both really interesting to work with.
Integral. No, that's not the word. Such unique and fine work.
Yes, these little fine pieces are. I enjoy doing those. It's a bit more satisfying once it's finished.
Oh, they're beautiful.
The copper gets put onto each piece of glass and then it's soldered together.
And I imagine you exhibit quite a lot, do you?
Not a lot. Not a lot. It's mainly for my own enjoyment.
Oh, is it? Right.
And for some commissions and that.
Yes. Do you have classes too?
No, I don't.
Oh, right.
No.
You should. It's such beautiful.
Thank you.
I'll just stand around a little bit more. We're at the upholstery stand and Gillian and Denise are doing some great things here. I'll ask Gillian to tell us what's going on.
So we're doing an upholstery workshop. We've got a master upholsterer from Sydney, which is Fiona. And so we're just learning. We only started yesterday. So we've all brought in our own project, our own chairs that we want to work on. Yes. So I'm doing a set of, reupholstering a set of 8 Parker chairs. And I'm learning how to do that. Yeah.
Well, a lot of work involved.
It's a lot of work, but it's very satisfying. Yeah. And it's nice to see old furniture being reused.
It's lovely old dining room mahogany chairs.
Denise, you're also involved in upholstery, or is an interest in the hobby?
Absolutely knew nothing about it. Student here, 2-day workshop, basically learning how to cover 6 chairs. Quite amazing. You're taught every single step by a master upholsterer, and it's an absolutely wonderful course.
And what are you up to here, this particular
This one, you put sponge on top, and then you layer it with different circles of dacron. You get this wonderful body curve. And and then just put your material on staple. It's taking away the difficulty.
They look so great. And you can take a pride and say, I did this.
Yep, I restored it. I know.
And what do you think of these displays and activities that are going on? Are they a good thing for the city?
Oh, for the city, for the vibe. The number of people who stop thinking we know what we're doing when we don't. But watching everyone interact and the kids interact with the printing's been gorgeous. So no, wonderful. Whole weekend of enjoyment. Loved it.
This is interesting. Can you tell me what's going on here?
I'm doing a 2-day upholstery workshop, which is part of the Heritage Trail project. And I'm just doing a couple of cushions for the back veranda.
Yes.
Learning a whole heap of new skills.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Creating mountains of continuous piping and other things.
Makes things look beautiful when you even more so when you do it yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
And you think
exactly.
this is a good day to have for people?
Oh, it's been fabulous. The whole weekend's been wonderful. Yeah, I hope they keep it going in Bathurst.
Thank you for letting me talk with you.
Pleasure.
Hi, could you tell me your name and what you're doing?
Hello, I'm Fiona Edmeades. I'm very privileged to be part of the Bathurst Heritage Trail, running an upholstery workshop. So I trained a number of years ago, and I've got 4 people here learning how to reupholster chairs.
Nice.
Currently I'm cutting some foam here for somebody who's going to be on a footstool project.
Very good.
Yeah,
and so you've got a lot of students actively involved today.
I do. Everyone's doing a great job working on their projects and having some incredible results.
Yes.
And
it's a 2-day project or longer?
It is. It's 2 days, and we're also running this short footstool project as well.
Penny, you're well underway upholstering a chair, is that right?
Yes, it is, Bruce. This is my second workshop with Fiona, and I didn't get them finished at the first one, so I'm determined now to finish them, but they're well on the way.
Yes. So the first thing is to take the old upholstery off.
Yes, and there's its mate. So these were picked up about 30 years ago at a farm clearing sale, so we're taking all the old webbing off, and this is that really old webbing. And then Steve, who's just ducked outside, then polishes all the old timber.
Yes.
And you can feel the difference between what that arm's like and what the arm that's been done like.
Right.
And then we learn how to re-web it and reupholster it.
Right. And the works look beautiful when they're finished.
They do, and I mean down there the blue chair is one that was done at the last workshop.
Let's go down and take a look at that.
This one yesterday was a rickety old rocking chair.
Right.
That now Steve has got to, and it's all sturdy again. And he's given that a bit of a buff.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that's ready to be redone, and Gillian Down is doing its mate. So that's the old cover, and it'll have a nice new cover.
It's a very attractive, colourful.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yes.
So wonderful work, and obviously we all enjoy different interests. I'm sure you're enjoying the work.
Very much, and it's in a great place.
For sure.
I learnt this 40 odd years ago in England at a wonderful place called Westdean College outside Chichester. And I did a 5-day workshop where I learnt to cane a fairly simple bedroom chair and to rush a seat. Now, how I got interested in it was when I was a lot younger. My mother had got a number of cane chairs, and she needed this particular one repaired, and we went to a sheltered workshop where blind people did this. So if you can imagine a blind person feeling their way with these holes, it is amazing. So it's traditional caning is usually a 6-way pattern. There are variants, and I've got some there. But basically the procedure is you lay the first cane vertically.
Like with normal weaving.
Yes, yes. I always start in the middle because you want the sides to match, so you wouldn't want to start that way. The challenge is that most chairs are wider at the front than at the back. So at some stage you're not, and you need to have cane in each of the front holes. So you can see these are called short settings where they haven't gone all the way to the back.
Okay.
Oh, it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
Well, look at the back there. I am going to replace both the seat and the back because this is natural aging. So the paint will start this colour and it looks better to do both. Otherwise, you have to kind of make a cushion on the edge or something like that. So this is the end result, how it looks when you see the each happen.
Oh, hi Brian, are you able to do some calligraphy?
Yes, I can. I'm trying. Sorry, I'm not really much. I should try this anyway.
So Brian, the formation of the lever is different segments, or is it traced over fine pencil work first? Or
No, it's just straight onto the paper.
And how do you acquire such skills over many years, no doubt?
Correct.
Yes.
Many years.
Many years.
30 plus.
Peter, some intricate work going on here. Could you tell me about it?
Sure. So what I'm working on now is a standard violin or a fiddle. Right, it's a typical 14-inch instrument. So what I'm working on is the belly of the instrument, which is the top. Okay, and at the moment what I'm doing is arching the edge and getting it ready for the lateral arches, which is this way, and the longitudinal arch, which goes this way. So I'm almost ready on the longitudinal arch. Now, as you can see these lines, I'm working on the laterals.
So that's from that one piece of timber?
It's similar to this piece here.
Yes.
It comes as a book wedge.
Right.
And that's how we get it from the sawmillers. So we plane that middle and then join the two together like so, and that gets glue. That's a glue joint down the middle. So you can see the glue joint here and the same on the back, and essentially what it does is it gives us a centre line to work to.
And how long would it take you to get up to this stage?
Well, the whole violin from start to finish is about 150 hours, and so far I've probably spent about 70 hours getting to this point here. So that includes the ribs and also the back. So it's basically finished, and I'm doing the same thing with this as I did with this. So these little holes here are my locators, which go onto the back of the ribs. That'll go on the back, and this piece will go on the belly.
And I'm fascinated, when did you develop an interest in tell me a little bit about your life work?
Back in 1988 I had the good fortune to be working in an old Czech fellow's house up in Mount Victoria, and he determined that I was enjoying this sort of work by the music that I was playing on the job. And he was a violin maker before the Second World War back in Czechoslovakia, and he just started showing me things from that connection, and it just went from there. I got very serious about it about 20 years ago when we moved from Bathurst to Orange. So since then we did a lot of repairs, and now we're making our own as well as repairing. So it's an organic thing, it just grows.
And it must be satisfying though, how much the items and violins will be treasured by the owners. Goes on historical
for sure.
Many years.
Yes. It's a wonderful part of the industry, and to be able to have a chapter within that that's hundreds of years old is pretty gratifying. We've made for a lot of professional players and senior students who have used our instruments not only to ply their trade but also to develop their own careers. So to be part of that is terrific.
So, a question I'm always thinking of asking, I haven't before, each individual instrument would have a slightly different tone or timbre, is it? And the ancient traditional ones that are cherished, they all have a characteristic sound?
Indeed. It's as individual as we are. Right? And even though I'm making out of similar species all of the time, sometimes blocks of timber from the same tree that are side by side, they will give you a completely different sound. There's some tangible things, the density of the timber, the way it's milled, all those sorts of things. You can be assured that what you're getting is going to work quite well. But there's intangible things like how I'm feeling on a particular day. I can't measure that. And the instruments come out reflecting that mood, if I dare say. And that's whether it's a European species or it's an Australian species. It depends. So, and we make both. Mostly European timbers, but sometimes Australian as well.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Peter, for giving us such an insight, and congratulations on the wonderful work you're doing.
It's a pleasure.
And no doubt you exhibit, I think I've met you before, exhibiting the work would be satisfying too.
It is, and it's great. This sort of venue is not only good for us, it's good for the public to see that these sorts of hand skills are still there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Wonderful.
This brings back memories to me, Barry, and one of my uncles who used to set up a newspaper or similar.
That would have been a hard job, I reckon.
Yes, but you've got some wonderful display items here. Yep. Could you tell me about it, Barry?
Yeah, well, printing something I think that I've always been interested in. Way back when I was about 8 years old, one of my first Christmas presents was a John Bull printing outfit. Little rubber letters that all stuck together. Yeah, so printing always fascinated me. So back in the 1980s I bought a printing press and a whole stack of printing type.
Right. Could you tell me a little bit about what's going on, say, here?
Yeah, well here we're setting the type. Each letter, and we can see that on this one here, each letter is a separate letter. So there we go, there's one fairly large one to see. Now often it's difficult to work out which way is the right way to put the letter, but thoughtfully when they made these blocks they put a little nick in the bottom so I could work out which way up the letter should go. Doing printing it's definitely convenient if you can read back to front. So you can read mirror imaged, it's very handy. Now once I've made up a block like this, I've made one up here, all the lettering then has to be squeezed very tight together, so the whole thing is only held in by pressure. Now when I'm printing it off, this goes into the machine. I'll put a bit of paper in. Now when I pull down on the handle, the rollers will come up and it inks the type. It'll print the type, and then the rollers at the top here will actually get some more ink from the plate. And then it will print off a little souvenir of the Bathurst Trades Trail. So about the only one you'll get this weekend. None of your other tickets have got them. Okay, so that goes into there. I'm just going to follow the printing. So there we go.
Oh, that's wonderful. So setting a press on newspapers, saying it would have been in the 40s, the Sakara Garden, I remember my uncle showing me in there. It'd be quite a big job, would it?
It'd be a tremendous job. There is no way in the world I'd want to be a compositor of these early newspapers. I have problems when you set type like this and you've tightened everything up and you lift it and half the letters fall out. That in itself can be very frustrating. So you can imagine what it must have been like for those old newspaper compositors. They wouldn't want to have any loose type. It would have been a real problem for them.
And there'd be errors if you didn't look at it.
And yet the strangest thing is I've had a lot of comments made to me over the last weekend that although the newspapers in the past were done on this very slow letterpress system, there were a lot less spelling mistakes than there are today in newspapers. Despite the spell checks that they have on everything, spelling was still a lot better, even when you're reading it back to front.
And photography too was part of it.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Barry, for that.
Yeah, pleasure.
Wonderful. Cool. I'm so interested in what you're doing. Could you tell me and the people here about it?
Okay, well, this is a Florentine mandolin which I've made. That's about a year old. It's got the scroll. It's a spruce top and a bird's eye maple back. And it sounds something like this.
Do you play the violin or any of these instruments? You'll have to learn it. It's wonderful.
Not that one, no.
No, I could tell you a story about...
That's an octave mandolin.
Is that a different higher octave?
It's an octave lower.
I don't play music.
So you play the same thing on this. Okay, and so, do you play something? You don't?
Well,
and here's a mandolin in the process of being made. So that's the neck in rough pieces. That's the body. So that's got to be, still it's got to have the bindings put on.
Do you make the fine printed out work too? Do you make it right from the start?
Yes, from scratch.
Yes.
From scratch. From scratch, and that one will end up looking like that.
Isn't it beautiful work? Yes, I do the sound all the time. Yes.
You want me to play it again? Okay. I'll sit down.
Some guitars have, 6 strings, some have 8?
This is 4 double strings.
Oh, double strings.
It's a mandolin.
Mandolin, right.
It's not a guitar.
Beautiful.
There we go.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's beautiful work and fun. Yes.
I can tell you a silly story about mandolin.
Kim, wonderful work. Could you tell us what you're doing here?
Okay, I'm a botanical printmaker, and what I have been doing is refurbishing heritage items to use for printmaking.
Right.
So for my lino cuts, I use an 1840 book press, and this was actually found locally over at the Webb building. So I use this for my lino cuts. For my dry point etchings, I use a repurposed washing mangle.
Briefly, I don't sort of understand etching. Is that done like cutting or is it?
Well, with the perspex etchings, this one, I actually draw with an etching needle onto the perspex.
Right.
So I transfer the outline of the image, and then what I do is I come in with an etching needle and add all the detail.
So is that like basically scratching it?
It's basically scratching it, yeah. And
it's just a needle you hold, and it's not a mechanical moving thing, or
no, it's just a scratching.
Oh, yeah.
A scratching needle, yeah. It's I think the technical name is an etching needle, but I'm not exactly.
Right. So you etch that into the perspex.
Yep.
And then how do we make that into a picture? How does
Okay,
that?
so you put ink on the plate.
Right.
You then
on the plate
onto the perspex. Then from that you get a fabric called tarlatan.
Right.
Which is like a muslin type material,
Yep.
and you work the ink into the grooves and the marks.
So it goes right. Yeah.
And then you polish the plate off or remove any excess ink with, I use the old phone book, paper from the old phone books.
Right.
And then it's ready to have the paper placed on top.
Right.
And then with this particular press, you have you put the plate down, then the paper on top, then the felt, and then the board. And then you pass it through the press.
Right.
And then the pressure from the press transfers it to the paper.
The ink to the paper that's left. So how many prints can you make from one inking, if you like?
One print.
One. So the process starts all over
again. So if you do an addition of prints, it might be a run of prints, but technically each print is an individual work of art.
Because it's got the ink in there, the ink's now transferred out of there.
Yeah.
You have to start the whole inking process again.
Yes.
Clean it out first.
Clean it, wash it, dry it.
It's a lot of work.
It's a labour of love. Yeah.
Some of these plates that I've done have taken 14 hours from sketch to print.
And this now lasts forever?
Yep.
This plate? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so, where are the pictures from this?
Over here. So if you have a look over here, these are these plates. I think the one that I've got in my hand is actually behind the box. So, yeah, but this is a coloured one. Oh. From this plate.
Individually,
yeah. So, to get the colours, you individually ink each section.
Oh, so that's printed several times over, or no? It's individually ink, and then you
print it. Yeah. Okay. So that's how those are all made.
You exhibit, no doubt, or sell?
I do exhibit. I think in the last 4 years, I've probably done 9 exhibitions.
Oh, right.
Up and down. New South Wales, Queensland, ACT and Victoria. So that's, and I've done one in Bathurst.
Well, that's excellent. I think it's such a wonderful thing to pass on or let people see the skills of our artisans and heritage-minded people. You would feel exhibiting is a good thing to do?
Exhibiting is a good thing, but I think when people understand how you produce something, then they have a better appreciation.
Appreciate the value
of the work. Yeah.
Esther, you've been showing people this wonderful work you've been doing.
Yes.
I'll let you tell us about it.
Oh, okay. So I started building harps because I wanted one, so I built one from a free plan off the internet. And then I designed a new harp to be cheaper and easier to make and sturdy. And now I just want to let people have a go and experience it and hopefully share the joy of harps.
Yes. So That's so wonderful. So you make them,
Yes. Yes.
And tell us about what would it be, the timbre or sound? How is that determined, by the size or?
So it's determined by the thickness and the length of the strings mostly, and the size of the sound box.
Yeah.
So as long as the sound box is large enough to give you that resonance, you get that beautiful sound from the strings.
Beautiful sound. And to learn to play, it would be quite a long learning process.
I think harps are actually very forgiving. I think they sound pretty good from the get-go. I can't even really play the harp very well, so but it's more finding someone to teach you. So a lot of stuff you get taught from the internet or other people who know how to play the harp. It's a little bit more difficult to find teachers.
You think you'd like to learn? The harpists, they're clever, aren't they? How they can make them beautiful work. Thank you so much for telling us all about it.
Oh, good, thank you.
Alex, this is fascinating work you're doing. Tell me about it.
So I'm putting in the eyelets in the soundboard, and this is so when you put the strings in, they don't rub and they don't cut themselves, they don't snap.
So that's interesting. I've never noticed before. So there's a sound box involved in that. And that would determine the quality and sound?
The quality and the loudness.
Right.
Yep. So there's holes in the back.
Oh, right.
Which let the air out and give you access to the strings.
Yeah.
And when you have it fully strung up, this starts to belly up, like some of the other ones.
Right.
But since it hasn't been strung up yet, it's all very flat.
And how long have you been interested in this?
A few months, I think.
A few months.
Yeah, that's still very recent.
Do you play the harp too? Or?
No, I mostly just help Asta make the harps.
It produces wonderful backing.
Yeah, it does. They're really nice.
Real sort of instrument. And you guys are to be congratulated on keeping the arts going in this sort of field.
Yeah.
Do you think it's good to have exhibitions like this?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting. It's really
Very
fun.
popular. Well, thank you and keep up that good work.
Thanks.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Ian, this is a fascinating display. Could you tell me about it?
Of course. A number of years ago, I got interested in the Appalachian or mountain dulcimer, which is this device here. And during my research, I found that it was based on a very old German instrument, which is called a Schieholz. The Schieholz was taken to Pennsylvania in about the 18th century by German immigrants. And from that instrument, the local people in the Appalachian Mountains built their own versions of it, which is what we call the mountain dulcimer or the Appalachian dulcimer. It comes in typically two shapes. This one from Kentucky.
And so there are various adaptations. Are they
Yes. Okay, the other one is this one, which is we call a teardrop version. That actually comes from West Virginia. So West Virginia, Kentucky, and then later on in about the 1980s, a guy named Bob McNally built this instrument here, which is a combination of the dulcimer type fingerboard, but adapted on a necked instrument that's sort of similar to, say, a banjo or mandolin or something of that nature. So again, it has the ease of playing that the mountain dulcimer has, the simplicity of the diatonic scale, but adapted into an instrument that will be familiar with like banjo players or guitar players or mandolin players, people like that.
And do you play them?
I do. I find that this instrument is very soothing. It's almost a form of meditation to play that one, as is this. But these are more convenient in that they can be hung on the wall and just taken down, played when you feel like it, which is probably about every day. So, played Oh. That's basically how it sounds.
Yes, it's a delicate sound, isn't it?
Yes, a bit banjo-ish.
Yes, very much so. Oh, I've never seen them before, so...
Well, I spoke to a gentleman recently, he said there's a guy up in Lismore or something that makes them.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, you're most welcome.
Jenna, you're busy here. Could you tell me what's going on?
So I'm a bookbinder. I'm just working on a book here at the moment. So bookbinding, you just stitch the pages together, bind it together, I guess. That's what the word means. Yeah, I can't relax.
So you can bring back to old books and documents to life, can you?
I'm getting into restoration, but just at the moment I'm just doing sort of creation work and making new books, essentially.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So it takes quite a while, does it, to bind a book?
It depends on the style, the binding style of the book. These ones here, these bigger ones, they take anywhere up to 15 hours to create from the beginning.
Up there, just give me an idea. So just to explain the process, it's made in sections, is it?
Yeah, so these little groupings of paper, the little pages, they're called signatures.
Oh, I see.
And you bind them onto these cords.
Right.
So you just sort of go in and out and around the cords from each signature. And this book will end up looking sort of like this book. The very old-fashioned books with the ridges visible on the spine. Yeah. They're very, very gorgeous books, yeah.
And are you selling the books?
Yeah, so I have all the books over on that side of the table. They're all for sale.
Right.
We have a few different styles.
That book we were looking at,
the black one? Yeah, so that took about 15 hours of solid work, not including the drying times for all the coats of glue.
An ancient art that go back many centuries.
Yeah, well, the frame bound, this one I was just telling you about, it dates back to medieval times. Yeah, so it's very, very old, very ancient. And
do you enjoy coming along to these exhibits and so on?
Yeah, well, this is my first time doing a demonstrator sort of event, but I'm loving it, and I'm definitely willing to come back next year.
Yeah. So, Sandy, you've got the mic on. You might tell me a little bit about what's going on here.
Well, we're here in Wellshaw Hall, which is one of the 4 venues for the Bathurst Heritage Trades Trail 2019. This wonderful, wonderful arts and crafts building is full of the most talented people. Just look over there, mandolin maker, harp maker, printers and violin maker.
It's so wonderful to see the arts coming together and people seeing actually what's involved with the skills.
Well, not only that, they're enjoying themselves. The public's enjoying themselves and the artisans are enjoying themselves. Everyone's having a great time.
And your committee came up with the idea to hold
Well, that's right.
Yes.
And so this is one of 4 venues. There's 2 other halls in town within walking distance. And then up at the Agricultural Research Station, we've got all the farm trades and the hard trades, horses and animals and all sorts of things going on up there too. And it's packed up there. There's thousands of people up there.
Congratulations to you.
All right, great to be here.
Wonderful displays going on here, which we must have a look at and record. And I'll ask the ladies on the counter just to tell me a little bit about, are you getting a good attendance?
We have had a fantastic attendance. Yesterday we virtually had to stand at the door to let the public through.
Yes.
It was just magnificent.
Fascinating.
Today's been a very steady flow through.
Right. And it's fascinating for people to be learning about the arts, isn't it?
Exactly, that's right. Yeah. And what is really interesting too is talking to the visitors that have come from every different avenue.
Yes. Very, very good. And so you would agree with me that it's wonderful to hold these events.
Oh, we must keep holding it. Yes, yes.
Yes.
This is our third year now, and it's just getting better and each year.
Yes, as people know about it now.
Yes.
It's a great attraction, so do keep it up. Right?
Do keep it up, that's right.
So it's just people from Bathurst that have been attending?
We've had people from everywhere. We've had a couple come in from Penrith this morning, just for this event. The media and the marketing avenues, the Facebook, they've found out about it. A couple come in from South Australia, particularly wanted to come here. It's just, we're getting more and more people from out of town coming in. And with our artisans in this hall, they're all from out of town.
Right. So that's wonderful. The word will really spread.
Word is spreading now, quite successfully.
So I'm reading this ceramics is one of the displays. Could you tell me about it?
Yeah, we are a student group from the University of Melbourne's Grimwade Centre for the Conservation of Cultural Materials. And we're here at Bathurst Heritage Trade Trails to advise and consult with people about how best to take care of their home collections. And one of the big ones that people have in their homes are ceramics, which,
porcelain or terracotta.
yeah, and they quite frequently break. They fall, they get dropped, and so we're advising on how best to repair.
Congratulations to you for exhibiting and including Bathurst in your itinerary. This is the first time in Bathurst?
Not me personally, but for a lot of us, yeah, it is.
Yes. And I'm sure you'd say displays are an integral part of learning trades and showing what you do.
Absolutely.
And you're
This is my first time here. I just came with the University of Melbourne. I'm a student of the university in the Master of Cultural Material Conservation. So we are here to explain what conservators do to take care of collection of ceramics, metals, paintings, photography.
You're still doing it. So could you tell me a little bit about anything there, or just illustrating the different antiques?
Yeah, so we have various ceramics that we brought up from Melbourne, from just our teaching collection. Basic pots and these plates. This whiskey jar here is from the Bathurst Historical Society collection, as are most of the medals here. We have this here, which is actually the cardinal ruby lamp, which is used in photography darkrooms to cast different colors of light for the different filterings. We have various silver items here, which is another common item in people's home collection. And I think we've all at one point cleaned our grandmother's tarnished silver.
Yes, I've got quite a bit of time. So are either of you doing ceramics work specifically, or your interest is more broad-based?
Our interests tend to be a bit broader within a 3D objects kind of frame versus paper or paintings. But we have both worked with ceramics and metals, and we definitely like them,
Well, it's lovely having you up. Hope you enjoyed your time, and I certainly have, looking and finding out so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the Uni of Melbourne is not just ceramics, but all other design features and display features. Here the photo albums being collected and restored. Albums, we've certainly seen a few of those when we recorded Bathurst Bicentenary. There was a big photo collection that we put together. So great work, other artefacts. textiles. Can you tell me what you're doing here?
Okay, well, we have a painting from the Bathurst Historical Society collection, which is a watercolour of the region. But unfortunately, the backing of the artwork has failed, and to avoid any dust and dirt and insects getting in there, and to prevent mould from growing, we've separated the layers, the back, the painting, right down to the glass, and dry cleaned everything with one of these super soft brushes. We recommend if you want to dust your paintings at home, you use women's makeup brushes. And now we're just cutting some acid-free board to insert in the back. We're going to tap in all the little nails back into the holes that have been originally there, and then we're going to finish it off by sealing off the artwork with some garnet brown paper tape to make sure nothing else comes and lives inside the painting.
It's quite intricate and very detailed work.
Yes, it requires a little patience, but we love what we do.
The result is great. And your first time to Bathurst?
It's my first time in Bathurst.
You found it a nice city?
I love Bathurst.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
historical.
And the tall trees are lovely.
Yes,
It's a beautiful region.
Thank you so much.
Fullerton Design. So, our background in Australia is a 90-year history with the Swiss in Melbourne, and in Surrey Hills, 70-year history with the Czechs, who set up the embroidery factories here in Australia and taught me and taught us at the French couture level of embroideries, fancy stitching. So what we do, this particular one is it's a test. These are all tester samples for. This one is Baz Luhrmann's Dragon from the New York production of La Boheme. This one is about Lithgow, the fires in Lithgow. It's for an art piece which is actually over there. About the burnt earth and the new life. And then we've got things like this. I don't know if you can see this. It's on sheer. These are the women behind the wire. It's earth, air, water and fire. And then we make the laces. We've got Australian wildflower laces, New Zealand wildflower laces, all made in Lithgow, most of it on the kitchen table in Lithgow. The skulls are for Lithgow Halloween, where they invite the artist to decorate the skulls, and we've used the embroidery to create the effect. This one's Princess Niwareka of Maori Polynesian folklore, and this is based on synesthesia, people who see words in colour and numbers in colour.
So this display, this is also part of your display?
Yes, this is all our work here.
Just walk us around it very quickly.
Yes, okay, well let's start We do a lot of film work. These are how we make the fabrics for film. This one is Judy and Punch, which was filmed last year. It's currently going to the Cannes Film Festival.
Right.
This one's Gods of Egypt, which is meant to actually be old and peasant and worn down. It's quite a new piece, but it will eventually get scrubbed down and holes in it. This is from Gods of Egypt. Also, just detail around the necklines.
Yeah.
This lady was an editor from the Vintage magazine who commissioned a hat from the artist or hat lady Tanith Kavari, and in turn we are commissioned to make the lace. It's from the old movie, the Women's Room, way back, an old black and white movie. This is Wheels and Doll Baby doing the pearls with beading and crystal work. Up here we've got a piece, it's a French Corneli embroidery from the designer Lisa Ho wore that to a Contre ball back in the 80s.
Right.
The pictures above, this is all Star Wars work which was done in our Sydney workroom. This is the wedding dress when Anakin turns to Darth Vader. It's actually a chopped up bedspread of Maltese lace. The art pieces are all done on organza, these pieces at the bottom here. All done on organza, using our medium of embroidery into art. The products that we have here are relating to not having wastage in our core business, so we try and use up all our excess fabric and using embroidery to create lovely pieces. What else have we got here?
That's a variety.
Yes, some pieces are done as a panel piece, and we might do the roses here in long strips of meterage. We might make all over fabric, and it all gets chopped up, and even things like juggling balls, the individual pieces are made. We like to get the guys in particular to juggle for us. What have we got here? So more art pieces. So this is, she wears many hats. Most women wear lots of hats when they're in life. This is David Bowie, Time Waits for No Man. More Star Wars pieces. And this dress is actually the chef from Secret Creek. We made it in Australian Wildflowers. I don't know if you can see this, but that's the actual machine that we make the lace on. But this is high-level bespoke couture work, and we work with toiles, particularly when we're doing the bodices, because we have to work with fitting the person who's buying the thing. Things like this, just embroidery pieces using up scraps of velvet. These are embroideries that are taken from the 16th century, covers of Bibles and psalm books, and we just mix and match the colours to make something interesting. This is all ours. This actually has just gone to, this opened at the Nisei Theatre. This is Love Never Dies for Lloyd Webber, and this opened at the Nisei Theatre in January. We have done it before, once again on the kitchen table in Lithgow, and we just redid it again for them. We've been doing Phantom and Love Never Dies for several years now, and these are all glow-in-the-dark Christmas decorations, where we make the laces in Lithgow, and the laces also, I've got some here that are, can I just come in here, sorry?
We're going to go this way.
This is Australian Wildflower laces, and this is where we make full meterage. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes,
oops, here we go. So this is, once again, it's bespoke where you can commission it to be done. These are cards we make. They can be peeled off and recycled into something else. They've been framed up from the movie Victoria and Abdul. This is an altar cloth. I don't know if you can. Oopsie! I don't know if you can see the church in Harris Park. It's just a tester sample.
Tony, what a wonderful display. Could you tell us about it?
This is the Twisted Sisters Fabulous Felt felting exhibition and display, and we make everything from wearables to needle books, pin cushions, handbags, sculpture, wall hangings, and anything else, jewellery.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't realise, I sort of knew about hats and felt, but it's so much more versatile, isn't it?
It's a very versatile fibre, and that's what we love about it.
Is it? Yes.
Yeah, it keeps you inspired
Oh,
to just find different things to make out of it.
Yeah. So there would be quite a demand for your work.
Well, yeah, we find a lot of people love it.
Yes, oh,
yeah.
for sure.
And they're fascinated that you can use wool
Yes.
for so many things.
Yeah, very, very good. And have you been to many displays? The display work, obviously.
Oh, yeah, we do have exhibitions. Yeah, recently we had an exhibition at the Dubbo Western Plains Cultural
Oh,
Centre,
right. Yes, that's
which
a
was
nice centre.
mainly wall hangings and sculpture.
Yes.
And then that was December last year.
Right.
This year we've been at May Rochelle Gallery at Millthorpe, and we've had a display at the Platypus Gallery at Forbes.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Exhibition. We've got one coming up at the Pandora Gallery at Coolah.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
we get around and.
No, and obviously you, like I feel that these sort of exhibits are wonderful for making the public aware of what's available.
A lot of people are simply blown away by the process
Yeah.
of how simple it is and the versatility of the fibre. Yeah. So this is the product that we use for the felting.
Right.
It's been scoured and combed, and this is called a wool roving, and it's merino wool, Australian merino wool, and we buy it in rovings, and then we hand dye to suit the project that we're doing.
So with this, so then it's refined down to thread, or
we lay it out in a pattern, and then we use soap and water and agitation,
right.
and then we that's the felting, wet felting process. Sometimes you use a resist if you want to create a handbag, and the resist goes in there, and that stops the wool both sides felting to each other. Yeah, so it creates a cavity, and that's the same process we use for the hats.
So much in it. I'd love to talk more, but this has given us an overview. So have a great time in Bathurst.
We will.
Thank you for talking with us.
No problem. Thank you.
Very old. Other times it's
Sally and Gillian, you're doing some great work, some fine work. Gillian, tell me about your work here.
Weaving baskets using Bangalow palm inflorescence, which is this material here,
Oh, right.
which has been dampened so it's flexible.
So how long have you been working on this particular piece?
This has been for a couple of hours this
Right,
morning.
and you got that far, yeah.
We're just making little mini sample ones, just given the space and
Right.
the materials. And just finishing this one off now.
Right, and here are all your sample
Yeah,
work.
mix of mine and Sally's work.
Beautiful work. Now, Sally, could you tell me what you're doing?
Currently I'm coiling with iris leaves, so refuse from the garden
Right.
that would have otherwise gone in compost bins or the green bin, and can make lovely little baskets out of it. So why waste them?
It's wonderful. People just don't realise what can be done.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's so important that you people tell us or have these displays. I think you'd agree with me that the idea of having exhibits and workshops is a great one.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Are you from Bathurst or you come from a fair distance?
Both come from the Blue Mountains.
Oh, right.
So not too far.
Yes, and you have lots of exhibits and displays there too, I
And we
think.
both give workshops.
Yes. Well, that is great. And then you can go to really fine fabrics, can you? Or what, for example?
Yes, I do a lot of work with recycled materials.
Right.
So things that other people might throw away.
Yes.
I find some sort of beauty in them and make them.
Yes, that is beautiful. Just come up to your waist, not fibre and designs. Yes, very important. Branching out designs. So that's your firm, is it? Branching out?
That's mine and one of my sisters.
Right.
And Waste Not Fibres is Sally's.
Oh, right. So all the best, and thank you so much for showing us.
My pleasure.
Deborah, this is a most interesting spinning wheel. Could you tell me what you're doing?
Okay, I'm actually spinning merino wool here.
Right.
The spinning wheel that I'm using is called a Wee Peggy. She's an upright spinning wheel.
Yes.
And the beauty of this particular spinning wheel is it has its lacy cape built in.
Right.
Now, when I have spun 2 of the bobbins full of wool, I would then put it onto the lacy cape. Once I would take the ends, I would put it back through the machine, and then I will ply the wool. Once I've plied it, I then take it off onto a niddy noddy, which is this. Now I'm spinning at about a 4 ply, which is quite fine. This is Corriedale wool that I've got on here at the moment. The beauty of the merino sheet is it's very, very fine.
Right.
And it's very dense. So
that's why it's so much in demand.
Absolutely. Your best Italian suits are made from merino wool.
Right. Once you get the spinning done and the fabric ready, you can do anything virtually.
That's exactly right. Once it's spun up to this stage,
yes,
I would then ball it.
Right. So how long would you be going to spin that amount of quantity ready?
Continuously, probably a week.
Yeah.
So it's very time consuming.
Right.
However, it's very relaxing.
Oh, for sure.
And you can lose an hour very quickly.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I've been doing this for about 5 years.
Have you? Right.
Yep.
So
the idea of it is to get your wool as even as possible.
Right. And that
without
depends
any
on
lumps or bumps.
how much tension you
Exactly, and it also depends on how much wool you pull.
Right.
Okay, and sometimes the type of wool dictates to how thick it's going to be.
Yes.
You can make wool that's lumpy and bumpy on purpose, and it does have its place, but most of the time for just plain knitting, you want it as even as possible.
Right. Wonderful.
So when you're spinning, your wheel goes to the right. When you ply, the wheel goes to the left.
Right.
So with your foot, you set it off in motion to the right. And all I'm doing is I'm teasing this wool out so that it's thin and even.
Well, thank you so much for explaining that. There are lots involved, and but the product is worthwhile and so appreciated by people.
It's one of the nicest hobbies I've done, and I've done quite a lot.
Yes.
Because I'm a historical reenactor, I can take my wool with me anywhere and still stay in period.
Yes.
And that is what I love about it. And the fact that you can make useful products out of it. So once I've done this, I can knit it, I can crochet it, or I can weave it into cloth.
Thank you so much.
You're You're welcome.
What do we call that lace work? Do we? Bobbin lace. It's a lovely bobbin lace material. Yeah.
I think on a whole, please be prepared to ask questions and, you know, say a lot of rubbish or whatever else, and say, you know, if you want to move on. I'll just give a quick overview from this side so that you sort of get things in perspective. The farm square, and that was always formed a farm square actually, even though it's a rectangle. We're not pedantic about these things, are we? They're the original farm buildings, so we have the blacksmith shop, shearing shed, hay shed, barn, stables, and I'll just go into this one in a minute. This is the agronomy shed where they used to store the seed for testing from, we had a lot of the famous Australian wheat breeders who used to work here. The curious thing about it, and I think probably it's a thing we struggle with, you can see there's two metal caps there with, they used to fit pipes in there. For storing the seed they had to fumigate it, so they pumped gas in there. Many years after it was used as that, they decided it was a good place to put staff. The staff, for some reason, were a little bit reticent about going in there when they saw that this was actually a gas chamber. We had to sort of say, it's all right, that's no longer operational. But there's some wonderful history in that place. So the people who worked there and the experiments that went on and what developed. Where Lynn works over here, it's now a nursery again, but it was actually the nursery. The whole of that, there was an old glass house there, but it wasn't old at that stage, it was a state of the art when we first set it up. And this is where all the stool beds for the fruit trees, all the seedling beds for the vegetables which would go down to the and I don't know whether you're familiar with we had the river farm, which was down on the Morse Ovals near the visitor centre, and that's where we used to grow the drugs. Oh, sorry. Well, it was actually. I've got some in my archival room. It's tobacco. It's funny though. People never sort of thought, right, we grow tobacco because people like to smoke, and we won an international award, first prize for tobacco breeding in Paris, for penicillium resistant tobacco. So we were famous for that. But they used to use the tobacco for smoking, but also for spraying on the orchard trees to kill everything. And nobody sort of thought, okay, it's killing that, and we're smoking it. Is there any relation? No. But the plant breeder, 2 years after he won that award, resigned from the department. He became the first president of the anti-smoking campaign in early 1960s, and he, Australia-wide, he developed that. And I thought that was a sort of a lovely irony there in some ways, and that was beautiful. And he was a lovely guy. So that was the nursery, and it's now gone back to being a nursery. And I think that's important as we start to look at what's happening around here. In 1890 we had the massive drought. We'll never have another drought like that again. Think about that one. And agriculture was in such a state because the rabbits were running rife. We didn't have any control measures for them. So they started to set up experiment farms. And the first one was Hawkesbury, followed by Wagga, and followed by here. The interesting thing here, anybody from Orange here? No, okay. Bathurst and Orange have an interesting relationship with one another. It's like Sydney, Melbourne. We're better than them. And the Minister for Agriculture was the local member called Sidney Smith. And he was looking about, he was member for Bathurst. And really, soil was better up at Orange. Maybe we should have put the experiment farm up there. But Sydney, he was savvy. He got it put here and he got re-elected. It's happened again and again and again. I think it's something to do with pigs or something, isn't it? And barrels and something, I don't know. Yeah, but it was an interesting start. And so that was in 1895. We actually had the first sod turned as an opening in 1995. Things happen a little slowly sometimes. So when we had the centenary, we had the first turning of the sod. Nobody had actually thought, I suppose we should open it. So at its peak, we had 800 acres of Bathurst. Now, when you think about the size of Bathurst, and particularly at that time, 800 acres. We went over to St Stanislaus, we had all the way down Challenge, well, they'll probably come to some of the bits over this way, but it was, that was a massive part. And not only was the land and what was going on here, because we did everything with animals, anything that grew, even I'd say almost kick-started the CWA because we did everything that ladies would do on a farm too. So it was, yeah, it was a key part. And the people who were involved here, particularly the manager and the blacksmith, were more important than the local member or the mayor. People referred to them, and I don't know whether do you go down and see the pillars, the people who are pillars of Bathurst. Robert Peacock was the first longer term manager of the farm, and he's now acknowledged as a pillar. He also kick-started the carillon, and they got that underway. But they're the sort of things that managers were involved in those days. They were a key part of the community. And yeah, well, I suppose nowadays we've got a lot of people up here today. We must be a key part of the community again. I like to think so anyhow. These trees here, apart from the fact that they shouldn't have been mutilated by kangaroos, the smaller one here is called redbow. Who's eaten a redbow apple? No, I'm not totally surprised. We had a Frank Bowman, Dr. Frank Bowman, a world-renowned apple physiologist who used to breed thousands upon thousands of apple seedlings. The whole of the hillside behind the sheds up there was covered with these seedlings. He'd go through and assess them all, and he was here for 30 years. And after all that, he came up with one commercial variety called redbow. Well, it went to the nursery for 1 year, and nobody bought them after that.
Why? Why didn't they buy them?
It just wasn't what the commercial industry wanted at that stage. Worldwide, Frank was revered as somebody who was so knowledgeable about growing fruit trees. But the tree behind us here is Granny Smith. Of course, Granny Smith worked for years on her breeding program.
Go 180. This one. That's your steering.
So which one is Rosalind better get on?
So I'd better have a bit of a turn right and head down to the road. No worries. I could see you weren't enjoying it. And we'll get you where it's nice and quiet. Off you go. Are we all staying together or? Look around. Look at my hat. We got to sell tickets to this job?
With the Country Women's Association Hall, with the final display. Senior citizens or?
CWA.
Yeah, CWA actually. Could you tell me if you've had a good attendance?
Well, I was here this morning for a while and it's been very consistent. Yesterday was very busy, but I think it's been pretty consistent, certainly this morning, and Margaret's been here all afternoon. So. Yes. Well, it's just people coming to every meeting.
From what I've heard of the, or seen in the other halls, people would be very satisfied if they could have seen all the arts and crafts there.
And we've been amazed at where people have come from and how they've heard about it.
Yes, I've heard that comment.
Some saw the Heritage Trails at the Sydney Royal Easter Show, but others have come from all over the place because they saw it on Facebook.
Yes.
So the social media is working.
It's working
I think
well.
it's a wonderful thing for Bathurst.
Well, thank you, ladies, and I must congratulate you on being, like I am, a volunteer at times to help people see these wonderful displays.
Thank you.
Now I've been admiring this, what do we call it, a loom, is it?
It's a peg loom weaver, for peg loom weaving, and it's a fairly old form of weaving.
This is bigger than I've seen most of them.
Yes, most of them are much shorter, about that length. Well, a family friend actually made it for me, and he was going to make one for his wife, and I said, well, make it nice and wide so she can make 4 rugs. And he asked if I had one, and I said, no, I haven't. He said, oh, I'll knock it up for you. I said, a lot of work. But it's wonderful.
Doing this sort of handicraft for quite a while?
Yeah, I've always been into handicrafts, and I joined Spinners and Weavers in the 80s, but then I left for about 25 years while I was working full time, and I've been back again for about 10 years, so yeah, really enjoy it.
They're a great idea too.
This is fantastic. The Heritage Trail is just amazing. I hope so.
Skills too.
Oh, absolutely. And there are people here from Narrabri, Wollongong, Sydney and the Hunter region. And I saw a man this morning and he said he was from Launceston, so I thought, well, that's pretty good.
Leslie, you're very busy here. Could you tell me what you're doing?
I'm actually just spinning a singles, so that when I've finished doing this one, I'll do another bobbin, and then I'll ply the two together. This is a fairly special wheel. It's really quite different to the others, but it's a very modern wheel, is this one. If you have a look, the wheel actually goes a different way to everybody else's, so it's really quite different.
textures of clothing depend very much on the spinner.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Well, it depends on the fleece that you get in the first place.
Right.
Whichever sheep, because all the sheep have different feel, different whatever of each one, and they're so it depends on how thick or how thin that you're going to get it. The experience of the spinner. So I've been spinning for about 6 years. Mine's starting to get finer. These two ladies have been spinning for a long time, and theirs is very fine.
That's wonderful.
So, yeah.
Great work. Ellie, at your table, there's lots of spinners.
Yes.
Wonderful work. Tell me about it.
Okay, so I'm spinning raw fleece in the grease, so it hasn't been washed. This is my preferred way of spinning.
Right.
So I have here, so that's combed up raw fleece, and I'm spinning into a single strand there.
So it takes quite a while till you go to what do we call that? Just the
This is
natural wool.
raw wool, and this piece is called a staple.
Right. Then when it's spun, it goes onto a bobbin.
That's right. This is the bobbin.
Yeah.
So you can see that it's feeding onto the bobbin.
Yeah.
And the bobbin is driven by the wheel.
Right. Oh, that's great.
So it's the spinning process.
Do you knit some of the material? Is that one of your...
This is one of my creations,
Lovely.
but my mother spun the wool for this one, not me, but I knitted it.
Yes. And no doubt you've had lots of visitors in the last 2 days?
We've had a lot of visitors, a lot of people who are interested to see the process.
Oh, that's wonderful. Such wonderful and practical work.
Yes.
We congratulate us. Both on your skills and patience too. Isn't
Well,
it?
it's very enjoyable.
Yes, well that's great. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Kathy, you're at the spinner's table. What's happening here, isn't there? It's a great day.
We've had 2 busy days.
Right, very busy,
Lots of people,
yes.
lots of interests, and
And Margaret, could you tell me a little bit about what you're doing?
I'm spinning wool and alpaca that's been washed, blended and dyed, and I'm just spinning a single and it'll get plied later on.
Right. And are you going to make an item from that or?
Yes, probably a jacket.
Right.
It's a long process. This is bobbin number 5.
Right. So do you think it's a good idea to have these exhibits?
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So people see how it used to be done
Right.
and still be done. When you've
That's very true, yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And you will be no doubt having other exhibits going on too?
We've got International Spinning Day, the 3rd Saturday in September, and we'll be in the shopping centre demonstrating spinning there. I think that's our next big function. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Anybody wants to follow up the 2nd, 3rd, 4th Tuesdays in Shore Hall at 10 o'clock.
Joy and 2 pans. I've just been looking at your stand. What a wonderful stand. What a productive stand. Could you, Pam, perhaps start off by telling me what you're exhibiting here?
We're actually representing our craft cottage, Rankin Cottage Crafts, and we're exhibiting knitting, crocheting and candle wicking and jam making, which are all heritage crafts.
Versatile. What do you have in your hand there?
I have candle wicking, and I'm we're calico on calico fabric with actually wicks from the candles. Is what colonial people embroidered and decorated their house.
Right.
So I'm doing that.
And Pam, number 2, you're very
Yes,
busy
I'm
here.
knitting baby hats
Oh, isn't
for
that
our
lovely?
nice cold winters.
Right.
Yes, and most enjoyable.
So
yes.
you would have a pattern, do you?
Yes, I do have a pattern. Yes,
That's
yes.
wonderful.
But some of it you can do
I see
without
some
the
of
pattern.
aunts or relatives used to be quite big hitters. It must be satisfying to you all to develop a product that is very,
lovely pastime.
very much used too.
It is, yes.
And Joy, what are you doing there?
I'm actually crocheting.
Right.
This is the start of like fingerless mittens that I've made.
Isn't that delightful?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and again, for the cold Bathurst winter, we need something to keep the hands.
Yes.
We can't keep our hands still, so
Yeah.
we have to do
Keep them
something.
moving.
Joy. Right. Yes.
I've got the marker piece.
We've also got children's wear and some crocheted stuff, beanies, more children's knitting and crocheting, some scarves.
Well, we have hand knitted socks, keep our feet warm, and we go into our crocheting and cushions, candle wicking. So it's showing how it can be used. Crocheting.
All right. I bet they're in demand and very yummy taste. So what type, different fruits you use?
Yes, fruits, yes, apricots, plums, strawberries,
Right. So they're available at Town and Country, are they?
Rankin Cottage.
Oh, right.
Rankin Cottage.
Right. Excellent. Well, ladies, you're
we're
a
from
very productive team there and wonderful work. I congratulate you all and I hope you continue to exhibit so we all know the things that are happening.
We actually have a craft cottage that's been running in Rankin Street, and we've been going for 33 years continually. We operate 7 days a week from 10 till 4. So we're just a little group where they're actually operating the shop today as well.
Right.
Yes, all these things are available down there.
Mr. Sorensen, how are you? We met many years ago.
We have indeed met before,
Probably also in the filmmaking world. I know you to be such a diverse person. Too with the handicrafts. Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, okay. Well, what we're doing here is we're constructing a representation of the Macquarie Bogan River catchment, so it's kind of starting down in this corner at Bathurst and then working through Dubbo, Warren, Macquarie Marshes and so on, and going up to the Barwon River. We're really interested in water and water policy, but this is just kind of an engaging, community-spirited and accessible way to kind of get involved and think about water and where it goes and what's happening with it.
Water's such an important thing. We won't
It
get
is.
into that, but I know you're doing great work and making people aware, and I think from the way government's going, they're aware, aren't they?
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to this, is it to be a hanging or?
This particular thing will be a banner. So this is the River Yarners banner. So we'll work on it, over the months and future. But the other thing we're doing is creating this big long representation of the Macquarie River. So it's now about 80 metres long. And we unfurl it from time to time at community events. So we keep kind of adding to it. And, so we're going to go to Forbes in June and sort of unfurl it around the whole park. It's kind of a form of yarn bombing or craftivism. Yeah.
How great. Casey, very active indeed, and it's wonderful to see you again. Casey, the display this weekend has been fantastic in Bathurst. Do you think it's a good thing?
It's been amazing, hasn't it? I mean, we've been doing this for 3 years now, being involved in this Heritage Trail thing, and each year it's built up, and to this time it's just been nuts. It's been so popular, and everyone's coming along saying they've come from Penrith and Sydney and Wollongong, and they've come from far and wide. So I think it's just been the most extraordinary illustration of the diverse talents and activities in Bathurst. So it's been incredible. Yeah.
Like Papa, Dad.
And that's what you're doing.
You want to have an apology?
Just, you right or left-handed, just make sure, hold it like you hold a pen, you know, the pencil, right? That you're going to draw. Hand that way.
That angle.
Yep. And then away you go.
Maybe a bit slower, do you think? Yeah. X marks the spot. Is that where the Pirate City's treasure, is it?
It's a bit big for that because I've had it down to do the shading on these things here. Right?
That's cool. How long would it take you to do a picture like this, do you think?
Oh, them I could get done in a couple of days if I'm sitting down doing it. Something like this to try and...
So you do it all in pencil first?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you want to try and make it darker, what you do, just go
You do that. Darken that off in there.
What kind of wood is this you're using?
That's over there. That's further back. The lighter it is, it looks out further in front. Looks clustered when it's down there, but when it sits up on a wall. Gotcha? Yeah.
The basic stitch is still buttonhole.
Still basically buttonhole stitch.
What is this type of work called?
This is all needle lace.
Oh,
Yes. So needle lace was the very original lace, and then bobbin lace came along in response to try to keep up with demand, but to be more commercially viable because it was faster to make. So if I just get this piece over here.
That's beautiful.
This piece is needle lace, all done with a needle and thread, worked on a foundation pattern, and then that pattern is released from underneath and you have fabric in its own right.
Beautiful work.
Thank you.
And this bit of work, what do
And
you
this
call
take-base needle lace was Irish.
Right.
And it came to Ireland in response to their poverty there in the 19th century, so 18s. And it was brought by nuns into the convents who had been from Europe.
What is this type of work called?
This is all needle lace.
Oh, needle lace.
So needle lace was the very original lace, and then bobbin lace came along in response to try to keep the European laces so that they could then make a little bit of money to keep food on the table.
Yeah, so lovely to see you carrying on the work and getting such good results. Have you enjoyed being at the exhibit? Has it? Yes.
And what I loved about it is I've had the opportunity to really educate people about what lace is. And in this setting I've been able to show people not only the different styles of lace, but also achievable and more complex styles of lace so that they can decide whether they want to give it a try themselves.
Wonderful. Your group is called?
The Bead and Wire Craft Guild of Bathurst.
Right, and we've seen a lot of you in the bicentenary, but it's good to see the organisation still going strong.
Yes, very strong.
Yes.
Yep.
I know you're almost packed up, but could you tell me a little bit about the display?
Right, we've got Madam Butterfly here. We've got a gum tree here. We've got Stanley the snake and the chooks with the trees and the scenery. And we've got beaded jars and a vase.
I didn't realise it's so versatile. It's not clothing, but a whole gambit of artistic.
And 1920s, roaring 40s hat. That way. We've got a beaded and chainmail sculpture. We've got a beaded frog, necklace, wire work and gemstones.
Lots and lots of variety of things. And people can purchase these, can they?
Yes, they can, yes.
Do you have a storefront or you just work from a group in the phone?
Just a group in the,
yeah. I must tell Helen that when we're looking for unique things and have a look at that. I just didn't realise the versatility of your group. And it's lovely seeing you again. And I think you'd agree with me, these sort of exhibits are a must, aren't they?
They are.
Yes.
Yes.
Bring people
Got to
to
keep the trade going.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Well, as a final word, thank you so much, and convey my congratulations to the group. Tell them we'll have this film out in about 2 months.
Okay. Thank you.
Fran, what a wonderful exhibit these have all been. Do you feel it's been worthwhile?
It's been fantastic. This is our 3rd year and it's gone from good things to even better things, and we've had more than 100 artisans here this weekend, and look at the fabulous skills that have been on display. We think it's a fantastic thing for Bathurst, and we're delighted that it's happening.
For sure, everyone you talk with is so enthused, not only the artisans themselves, but the people who ask the questions and comment on. They didn't know that something was crafted that way, really.
Yes, and it's exciting to see these, what could become lost trades and crafts being kept alive by people with such enthusiasm and interest in what they're doing. So,
yes,
and it's been terrific because there have been people here from lots of locals, but from all over the place. We had some people from South Australia and Western Australia. So it's great.
Yes, and it's something to do rather than just sit at the television set or vegetate.
Yes, and it's great to see young people, young kids coming through, getting involved, participating in it.
Yes, for sure. So
valuing our rich heritage.
Yes, so just tell me the name of your committee so people wanting more information.
If people want more information, we're a loosely formed group, which is the Bathurst Heritage Trades Trail Group, and you can get in contact with us through the Bathurst Visitor Information Centre. Dan Cove, the manager of the Bathurst Visitor Information Centre, can then connect with the other people in the group.
Wonderful, Fran. That's tremendous. And again, congratulations to your committee and all those involved.
It's been great.
Wonderful. Nothing goes well without a cuppa or premises, and you've provided those. Have you enjoyed the day?
We have. We've been working hard, but it's been well worth the wait.
So yes, people will remember that for sure. Well, thank you. And that cuppa that I got has rejuvenated me very much. Thank you.
Glad to help.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you need it.